Good evening and welcome to another Luminiare. With this week we're doing another part of the Lay of Leithian, which is the epic poem that tells the story of Beren and Luthien. Last week's one about Finrod fighting Morgoth was also about the Lay of Leithian. In that section it's the battle of Finrod and Morgoth. In the poem it takes place just as Beren and Luthien approach the doors of Angband. But in this section that I'm going to read to you today, they have got inside Angband. They've snuck past the mighty wolf Carquoth. They've put him to sleep so that they can sneak downstairs. Beren is in the form of a mighty werewolf, and he's snuck inside, and Luthien is flying behind them. Luthien is in the camouflage of a bat Thuringwethil. Thuringwethil was part of Morgoth's army. She was his messenger. So the idea was Sauron and Morgoth would communicate to each other, and Thuringwethil would pass the messengers between them because she could fly. So she was super quick. So I'm just going to go straight into it. Lo, through the grinning portals dread, sudden a shadow swooped and fled, and Beren gasped. He lay alone with crawling belly on the stone. A form, bat-winged, silent flew, where huge pillared branches grew, amid the smokes and mountain steams, and as on the margin of dark dreams a dim felt shadow, unseen grows, to cloud of vast unease and woes, foreboded, nameless, roll like doom upon the soul. So in that gloom the voices fell, and laughter died, slow to silence, many-eyed. A nameless doubt, a shapeless fear, had entered in their caverns drear, and grew and towered above them cowed, hearing in heart the trumpets loud of gods forgotten. Morgoth spoke, and thunderous the silence broke. Shadow, descend, and do not think to cheat mine eyes, or to seek to hide from thy lord's gaze. My will by none may be defied. Hope nor escape doth here await those that unbidden pass my gate. Descend ere anger blast thy wing, thou foolish, frail, bat-shapen thing, and yet not bat within, come down. Slow wheeling over his iron crown, reluctantly shivering and small, Beren there saw the shadow fall, and droop before the hideous throne, a weak and trembling thing alone. And as thereon great Morgoth bent his darkling gaze, he shuddering went, belly to earth, the cold sweat dank upon his fell, and crawling shrank beneath the darkness of his seat, beneath the shadow of those feet. To Nuviel spake, a shrill thin sound, piercing those silences profound. A lawful error here me brought, from Thu's dark mansions have I sought, from town of Fawen's shade I fare, to stand before thy mighty chair. Thy name, thou shrieking waif, thy name! Tidings enough from Thu they came but short while since. What would he now? Why send such messenger as thou? Thuringwethil I am, who cast a shadow ere the face aghast of the sallow moon in the doomed land of shivering Beleriand. Liar thou art, who shalt not weave deceit before mine eyes. Now leave thy form and raiment false, and stand revealed and delivered to my hand. There came a slow and shuddering change. The bat-like raiment, dark and strange, was loosed, and slowly shrank and fell. Quivering, she stood revealed in hell. About her slender shoulders hung her shadowy hair, and round her clung her garment of dark, where glimmered pale the starlight caught in magic veil. Dim dreams and faint oblivious sleep fell softly thence in dungeons deep. An odour stole of elven flowers from elven dells, where silver showers dripped softly through the evening air, and round there crawled with greedy stare dark shapes of snuffling hunger dread. With arms upraised and drooping head, then softly she began to sing, a theme of sleep and slumbering, wandering woven with deeper spell, than songs wherewith in ancient dell Melian did once the twilight fill, profound and fathomless and still. The fires of Angband flared and died, smouldered into darkness. Through the wide and hollow halls there rolled and fell the shadows of the underworld. All movement stayed and sound ceased, the vaporous breath of orc and beast. One fire in darkness still abode, the lidless eyes of Morgoth glowed. One sound the breathing silence broke, the mirthless voice of Morgoth spoke. So Leithian, a liar like all elves and men, yet welcome, welcome to my hall, I have a use for every thrall. What news of Thingol in his hole, shy lurking like a timid vole? What folly fresh is in his mind, who cannot keep his offspring blind from straying thus, or can devise no better counsel for his spies? She wavered, and she stayed her song. The road, she said, was wild and long, but Thingol sent me not, nor knows what way his rebellious daughter goes. Yet every road and path will lead northward at last, and here of need I trembling come with humble brow, and here before thy throne I bow, for Luthien has many arts for solace sweet of kingly hearts. And here of need thou shalt remain, now Luthien, in joy or pain fitting doom for all, for rebel, thief, and upstart thrall. Why should ye not in our fate share of woe and travail, or should I spare to slender limb and body frail breaking torment? Of what avail dost thou deem thy babbling song and foolish laughter? Minstrel strong are at my call, yet I will give a brief respite, a while to live, a little while, though purchased dear to Leithian the fair and clear, a pretty toy for idle hour. In slothful gardens many a flower like thee the amorous gods are used, honey sweet to kiss and cast, bruised, their fragments losing under feet. But here we seldom find such sweet amid our labours long and hard, from godlike idleness debarred. And who would not taste the honey sweet lying to lips, or crush with feet the cool soft tissues of pale flowers, easing like the gods' dragging hours? Ah, curse the gods, O hunger dire, a blinding thirst, unending fire. One moment shall ye cease, and slake your sting with mortal here I take. In his eyes the fire to flame was fanned, and forth he stretched his brazen hand. Luthien, the shadow, shrunk aside. Not thus, O king, not thus, she cried. Do great lords hark to humble boon, for every minstrel hath its tune, and some are strong, and some are soft, and each would bear his song aloft, and each a little while be heard, though rude the note, then light the word. But Luthien hath cunning arts, for solace sweet of kingly hearts. Now hearken! And her wings she caught, then deftly up, as swift as thought, slipped from his grasp, and wheeling round, fluttering before his eyes, she wound a many-winged dance, and sped about his iron-crowned head. Suddenly her song began anew, and soft came dropping like dew down from on high in that domed hall, her voice bewildering, magical, and grew to silver murmuring streams, pale falling in dark pools in dreams. She let her flying raiment sweep, enmeshed in woven spells of sleep, as round the dark void she rang and reeled, from wall to wall she turned and wheeled, in dance such as never elf nor fay before devised, nor since that day. Then swallow swifter than flittermouse, in dying light round darkened house, more silken soft, more strange and fair than sylvan maidens of the air, whose wings invarred as heavenly halls in rhythmic movement beat and fall. Down crumpled orc and balrog proud, all eyes were quenched, all heads were bowed, the fires of heart and more were stilled, and ever like a bird she thrilled above a lightless world forlorn, in ecstasy and enchanted born. All eyes were quenched, those that glared in Morgoth's lowering brows, and stared, and slowly wandering wonder round, and slow were in enchantment bound. Their will wavered, and their fire failed, and as beneath his brows they paled, the Silmarils like stars were kindled in the reek that earth had dwindled, escaping upwards clear to shine, glistening marvellous in heaven's mine. Then flaring suddenly they fell, down, down upon the floors of hell. The dark and mighty head was bowed, like mountain-top beneath a cloud. The shoulders founded, the vast form crashed as an overwhelming storm. Huge cliffs in ruins slide and fall, and prone lay Morgoth in his hall. His crown there rolled upon the ground, a wheel of thunder, then all sound died, and the silence grew as deep as if by the heart of earth asleep. Beneath the vast and empty throne, the adders lay like twisted stone. The wolves of corpses foul were strewn, and there lay Beren deep in swoon. No thought, no dream, nor shadow blind, moved in the darkness of his mind. Come forth, the hour hath knelled, and Angban's mighty lord is felled. Awake, awake, for we two meet alone before the awful seat. This voice came down into the deep, where he lay drowned in wells of sleep. A hand, flower soft and flower cool, passed over his face, and still the pool of slumber quivered. Up then leapt his mind to waking, forth he crept. The wolfish fell he flung aside, and sprang unto his feet, and wide staring amid the soundless gloom, he gasped as if one living shut in tomb. There to his side he felt her shrink, for Leithian, now shivering, sink, her strength of magic dimmed and spent, and swift his arms about her went. Before his feet he saw amazed the gems of Feanor that blazed, the white fire glistening in the crown of Morgoth's might now fallen down. To move that helm of iron vast no strength he found, and thence aghast he strove with fingers mad to wrest the guerdon from their hopeless quest, till in his heart there fell bethought that cold morn whereon he fought with Cudafen. Then from his belt the sheathless knife he drew, and knelt and tried its hard edge, bitter cold, over which in Nogward songs had rolled of dwarvish armourers singing low to hammer music long ago. Tender iron as tender wood it clove, and mail as woof of lemur rove. The claws of iron that held the gem, it bit them through and sundered them. A Silmaril he clasped and held, and the pure radiance slowly welled, red glowing through the clenching flesh. Again he stooped and strove afresh, one more of the holy jewels three that Feanor wrought of yore the free. But round those fires was woven fate, and yet should they leave the halls of hate. The dwarvish steel of cunning blade by treacherous smiths of Nogward made snapped, and ringing sharp and cleared, and twain it sprang, and like a spear on errant shaft the brow it grazed of Morgoth's sleeping head, and dazed their hearts with fear, for Morgoth groaned, with voice entombed like wind that moaned in hollow caverns penned and bound. So we'll leave it there, but that is part of the epic poem of the Lay of Leithian, of Beren and Luthien, and it tells, of course, about how Beren and his elvish lover Leithian strolled into the very hearts of hell to send Morgoth to sleep with elvish magic to steal the Silmaril. Again, as I said before, it's part of the same poem that the story of Finrod and his mighty battle Fingolfin and his mighty battle against Morgoth. So again, it's in that same kind of iambic tetrameter, where it's skip, and a really great read. So I've got the standalone book here. I've also got the History of Middle Earth, which is where I was reading from before. Strongly recommend this. If you like the story of Beren and Luthien in the Silmarillion, definitely get the Lay of Leithian, because it is absolutely brilliant. And this version also has a really, really old version, which he wrote in about 1915, 1920, where before he'd fully thought about who Sauron was going to be, and obviously before the Lord of the Rings was written. So Beren doesn't find himself in Sauron's dungeon, he finds himself in a dungeon of Tevildo, the Prince of Cats. And you can really see how Tolkien is definitely a dog person, not a cat person, because Beren and Luthien have the mighty Hound of Valinor, Huan, who's the goodest boy, and every cat they meet is a bastard. So there we go. I hope to see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed it.